stay with me here. I'm going to talk about numbers and not visuals is all relevant.
Okay.
So bear with me.
And you told me also that you have dyslexia, and it is also a way for you to better visualize instead of reading and writing, right?
When I spelt something, I've generally got nice handwriting. God gave me nice handwriting on the one hand, and on the other hand, he took away the ability to spell.
And this is good.
Hi everyone, and welcome to There's a Workshop for That. I'm Nathy, your host and the founder of La Workshoppers. If you are as passionate as I am in the power of facilitation, you are in the right place. On this podcast, experts in the field join me to share their experiences, insights, and practical tips. So whether you're a seasoned facilitator or simply curious about how well-designed and facilitated workshops can transform teams and organizations, this podcast is for you. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any episode. And if you like what you hear, please give it a 5-star on your podcast app. So now, sit back, relax, and let's dive into today's topic and meet our guest. Let's go!
Welcome back to There's a Workshop for That. Today's episode is extra special because I get to introduce not just an incredible guest, a talented woman, but a dear new friend. Sam Carpenter is an event sketchnoter, workshop designer, and facilitator. And trust me, once you see her magic in action, you'll never want to go back to regular note-taking again. First connected online a couple of months ago, and then finally met in person at the Inclusive Facilitation Exchange in London. And honestly, it was one of those rare moments where you just know this is someone you're going to vibe with. It was friendship from the first connection. Sam brings a unique lens to facilitation, literally. Our work turns conversation workshops and ideas into live visual stories that not only spark engagement, but also make content more accessible and inclusive. So grab your pens and just your curiosity. You're in for a thoughtful and colorful conversation. Hi, Sam. How are you?
Hi, Nathy. Thank you for having me on your show. I know it's very popular and you've had amazing guests in the past. So I'm in good company. I feel privileged. How am I? I'm feeling very well nourished. It was just over a week ago that we had the Inclusive Facilitation Exchange in London, where we got experts in the world of neurodiversity and collaboration. And I've been collaborating with some of those wonderful people, Jenny Martin and Kerry Newton Sangana. Such a privilege to be collaborating with those two very special people. And there was many more that will get name checked. But what a bunch of people. They were so professional, so expert, so kind, and all of those things made me not nervous about going into my first ever graphic recording gig. And I took on too much work. I've learned that. But I sketched the entire conference. And it was brilliant. I loved every speaker. I loved every person behind the scenes. I am just so grateful to be part of this community. So I'm feeling recovered from the event.
Yeah, it was a lot, huh? It was so beautiful because we had to connect with so much people. And of course, there were the conference, but we had a dinner the night before. Then we had the breakfast and a dinner the night after. No, you didn't stay for dinner because I think you were completely
broken.
Yes. I mean, we will talk about it, but you were not only here as a participant or like me as a facilitator who has a little session during the day, but you had to focus the whole day to sketch what you were hearing. So I can imagine that your brain was, okay, it was nice to be here. I love you all, but I will go to my bed.
I did. I went to my bed for 2 days. I was exhausted, but fully recovered. Yeah, really happy, really happy. I mean, I just think that that was the inaugural event. It was a beautifully curated boutique event, expertly done by Jane Levacy and Jenny Martin.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it's the first of many, and we collaborated, Nathy,
Yes.
and hopefully on something amazingly meaningful, and that will hopefully be really influential. You might want to talk about that, but I'm not interviewing you.
Yes, but you brought me to the idea. It was in January or something like that. So we were collaborating on the closing of that day. So the closing session coming after the talk of the dear Mohsin Memon, who is the creator of eVive and also the creator of the AFA model. And so a model who is using all the parts of your brain to connect people and to make them make some realization and reflection at the end. But Mohsin will be one of the next guests of the podcast, so we will talk about it with him. But after his talk, we thought about closing the session with Inclusive Facilitation Exchange Manifesto. And you brought me to the idea because you talked about the Agile Manifesto, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very influential. I think it was written in 2000. It's like
I don't know anymore.
Years old.
Yeah.
And anybody who's worked in software development knows it. It's really great principles. Whether you follow Agile or not, the principles and the values are sound.
Yeah.
Shall I give them a little peek?
Yes, of course. Of course.
Document?
Yes, of course.
Cameras.
We created the Inclusive Facilitation Manifesto, and
here it is.
Yes. Oh my God. It was a 30-minute workshop, and we invited everyone to reflect 5 minutes on their realization after spending all the day with all the speakers, and then to reflect what it means for us in the future. How can we uncovering better ways of facilitation and teaching with great neurodiverse inclusivity? And people worked on it. And what do we have here? Can you read
we've got the voted. I kept the voted post-it notes there as well to see the engagement. But the headlines were 4 key things, and everybody who's signed this, a bit like the original Agile Manifesto, it was co-created by all the people in attendance of the Inclusive Facilitation event, hashtag IFE 2025. They all signed it too. And what we've come up with is designing flexibility over one size fits all.
Mm-hmm.
Invitation over assumption. So this is something Yannick perhaps was something that he does. He might not have been specific over that because it was co-created by all these people. Emotional investment over just being present. So that's having an empathy for your audience or your team, the people. And then emergence and discovery over process and structure. So all of these things will be very front of mind for any collaboration professional. And we know we've got a merry team of them, haven't we? Like Ben Rouse, he's expert collaborator. He will teach you how to run workshops that are collaborative and expert and time-saving, driving greater alignment, as will Jenny Martin,
Mohsin.
Obviously Mohsin and yourself and Jan Keck. We just got a really lovely community there. We're so lucky.
And by the way, for the listeners who are asking yourself, oh, I was not there, there will be the IFE 2026, and I think the seats are already open. I will put the link in the show notes. Grab your seat, because it was really, for us all, it was a transformative event. So, Sam, what is your background actually? Because we will talk about visual facilitation, and I would like to understand how you came to visual facilitation.
Well, I like to I'm just going to change my overhead camera. Huh? And I like to keep these little sketch notes. I keep them in a little box. And this one I sketched a long time ago, which was my journey. Like I was studying how to write stories, and there's Hero Journey is one framework you can use. And I've covered up a couple of bits that I don't want to share. You might be able to see behind those. But so what's brought me onto visual facilitation is I was poor academically in school.
Mm-hmm. But
then I got this job in a casino, and it really suited me. I didn't realise I was so good at mental arithmetic. And I'm going to talk about these other things. I was an interactive producer in the world of TV for a long time. And then I became a product manager in the corporate world. And that led on to being an agile coach. And then that led me on to visual thinking. But I want to reflect on my days as a croupier in the casinos in London. I'm just going to talk about this very briefly because there's magic in visuals. So stay with me here. I'm going to talk about numbers and not visuals. Is all relevant.
Okay.
So bear with me. So if you wanted to play a game of roulette, first up, never gamble. It's a mug's game. You'll only lose. It's a drug. You will become addicted and ruin your life. So don't do it. But this is, I worked as a croupier before I knew better. And on a roulette table, I've mocked up a roulette table here. You have numbers that go from 1 to 36. So I've just got a few here. And if you put a chip covering 4 numbers, that pays 8 to 1. And if you put that chip covering just one number, it pays 35 to 1. And if you put it on covering 2 numbers, it pays 17 to 1. So if you've got a lot of chips on the table like this, I can tell you, and anybody who's been a croupier for a short while can tell you, that adds up to 205. And I know that without even thinking, because I was taught picture bets. So this is the visual aspects of it, okay? So this is 8 to 1, 8 and 17 is 25. So that's a picture bet, that's 25. So if you've got 2 picture bets like that, we know that that's 50. And if you've got 4, we've got 4 lots of 25 there. That's 25. That's going to be 100. That's simple maths, yeah? 4 times 25.
Mm-hmm.
1 straight up on a number is 35 to 1. 2 is 70. That's not a picture bet. But 3 is 105. So we've got 100 and 105. So suffice to say, I really loved doing mental arithmetic. And you had pictures. You had picture bets. And it was like putting together a visual, and it was great. It was, I worked there for a long time, and it was really good fun. I met great people I'm still friends with. So I'm a woman of a certain age. So that was a long time ago. I'm still friends with these people. You make really deep connections. But then I was an interactive producer in television. And there was a lot of collaborating. So I would, for instance, go back to my overhead. I would collaborate with the stakeholders of television. There'd be the stakeholder there. And let's make that a juicy steak. So I'd collaborate, and then I would perhaps need to sort of sit down with other really important people and have conversations together and devise what the content was for a TV show to be supported by the website. And then that meant that I would be one of the first people who would engage in social media, and I would interview the cast. And I would get many people to support me in my endeavours to produce content. So that would be with the crew and the cast. And we had great success there, launching some early versions. So I'd be working with the cast who would be filming the actors, and there'd be the stars of the show, and there's be the cameraman. And so that was all to support television.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would be the web component. So that all kind of worked symbiotically. And then the web started off being like a small thing. And then over my time as an interactive producer, it became very, very important. And actually a show wouldn't get commissioned if it didn't have what we called 360 and pan platform content. So that's really, really good fun. And then we all got made redundant in 2008. So then that's what led me into, let me think about this. That's what led me into my first product role. Yeah. I think I was in what's the continuing thread in my career is software development. Mm-hmm. So aside from, as soon as I finished in the casino, in television, it's all about, I was the interactive producer. I started off making websites years ago, and then that progressed into content, and that progressed into product management, and then coaching.
And then the agile, agile.
So when I said coaching, I wasn't clear. Zelda man, there's agile coaching. Yeah. That's why I use visuals to help with the clarity. Yeah.
Yeah. And you told me also that you have dyslexia, and it is also a way for you to better visualize what you, instead of reading and writing, right?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know I was dyslexic. So when I was poor academically in school, I just didn't get it. And because, I'm fairly bright, but I just can't prove it academically, but I can prove it in other ways where I can problem solve, I can understand complex issues and simplify them. So I was working in Sainsbury's, and they had a diversity and inclusion working group. I was part of that, and somebody shared a story about their dyslexia, and I recognized the traits. Yes, the page swims when I'm reading a book. All the letters swim, the letters hide behind each other. Reading out a credit card number is very hard. I have to cover up all the numbers and just expose one or two at a time. Mm-hmm. So I recognized a lot of the signs, and realized I was dyslexic 7 years ago, but then my world fell into place. And I did notice, whilst at Sainsbury's, actually, there were some quite challenging times, and particularly when they had a merger with Argos. So you had two really big brand names of the UK merged together, and people had different ideas about things. And when we were working in software, you're working in the middle of it all, and you have to bring these two sides together in a way that is motivating, is not confrontational. And I found actually at the same time, people were sending out walls of text, like 1,000 words, unnecessary communications we were expected to read. Like leaders talking about their background and their blog of the weekend. It had nothing to do with work. I know that the motivation was the right thing. I know where they were coming from. The sentiment was good, but I did notice I can't read that. I can't read that. And there was one leader, he would do a video instead of this wall of text, and I really appreciated that. And they were very inclusive, embraced lots of things with neurodiversity and just the diversity. So I kind of doubled down on it. I saw a coach. His name is Arif, and he's a really nice person. He has a agency, and he had a flip chart image where he'd illustrated psychological safety, and that's what he was talking about. And I saw him, and I thought, did you draw that? Like, because it was really cool. It looked really good. And he said, yeah. I'm like, so you, and that's your lettering as well. And he's like, yeah. And it turns out it's Bikablo. He'd been trained by Bikablo, and he wouldn't share anything with me. He was like, I said, can I borrow your book? He's like, no, because it's all like protected, it's trademarked, and they've got these training schemes. And it's quite right, because Bikablo are the trainers, and I now train sketchnoting for Bikablo. And it's a way of simplifying messages, or even developing ideas. And you sketch it, and it's wonderful because it takes the sting or any emotion out of a conversation. It also, it just brings about a certain element of vibe of fun. Like, you're working hard, but no one says you can't be professional, you can't be effective and have fun. It relaxes you. It allows your brain to work at its optimum. You're not closing down your intellect because you're stressed. Actually, you're opening it up. So I find it, it didn't balance out the dyslexia. It made the dyslexia an attribute that's really positive.
Yeah, and bring you to new things to express yourself or to register information, right?
Exactly.
So why do you think sketching of visual facilitation is a powerful tool for making these discussions and decision making more inclusive?
So I think, it opens up sketchnoting. It opens up collaboration. So that in itself is inclusive. Prior to engaging collaboration and all of the tools that you use to be an effective collaborator, you might be, you might be a Scrum Master or Agile coach, or involved in organization transformation, many things. But prior to the importance of collaborating and people embracing that, what people did not so long ago, they'd sit behind their laptop and slave over PowerPoint for a month. And then they'd take it into a room of people and say, look what I've worked on. Look how great it is. This is what we're doing next. And everyone, is fallen asleep because there's a PowerPoint presentation that's probably all words on the page. They turn your back to you, the audience, and just read the words off the page. Or they might be facing you and saying different words to what is on the PowerPoint deck. And you're like, do I read? Or
and then your brain.
What do I do?
Yeah.
So that's bad news. That's boring. It's bad news. It's not getting all the knowledge from the group. Any group is far more intelligent over time than a single highly intelligent individual. That's a proven fact. And I learnt that from listening to Barack Obama. Not in person, but it was a BBC Maestro course. So instead, what you can do is raise ideas, like you pose the problem on the challenge, and you get people to collaborate with ideas. Now, when we don't think in words to start with. I think I've learnt this from Caitlin Walker, who's a great author of a brilliant book, Systemic Modelling and Clean Language. But I think it was from her book where it says, we think in metaphors before that becomes language. So you don't have a fully formed idea. So you might have an idea what would be good, but it's not a fully formed idea. So I might do a little sketch to illustrate how collaborating visually can really bring about alignment. It brings about alignment, and you literally on the same page because you're sketching on the same page. So here's an example where this happened to me recently. I was in a networking session and I was talking to one person. Let me see if I'm on page yet. So here's this lovely person I met, and there's me standing next to her. So I do our little legs there, little legs. There we go. And we're having a cup of coffee. And there we go. It's hot coffee. And we're having a conversation. And I said, if I was to sketchnote this, it would be a coffee and a chat. And so can you imagine, you might be talking about something a lot more meaningful. You might be talking about, your software legacy system in the company. You're like, this is how I see it. So I'm using a very simplified example. We're having a coffee and a chat. But she would say, oh, okay, I see what you can see there. That is true. We are having a conversation. We are having a chat. And we are enjoying coffee. But actually, it's bigger than that, because if you look around the room, there's loads of people, all in their little groups, and they're all having conversations, and they're all strangers. They don't know each other. What's happening is it's networking. So I'm using an analogy there, I suppose, where I see one thing of that, and the person I'm talking to, and that could be, like I said, you're talking about something completely different. It could be a new feature. It could be a new valuation proposition for whoever. And you're drawing it on the page. I draw what I see. And they're like, no, actually, this is what's going on. This is the whole picture. And then you literally can get on the same page.
I love that. I love that. This is so talented too. You translate actually in what we are talking and what is in our brain. You translate it in simple pictures. And tell me if someone would like to learn this. So, I mean, I cannot draw. There are a lot of people who cannot draw. How can you start to do this? Because it seems so simple to do when you do this.
It is. So this is the style. I say Bikablo because I come from London and we say things stupid. Bikablo. Bikablo is a company, and it's a method, and it's very well thought out. It's a very ethical company with wonderful people, and anything we teach you to draw in the Bikablo method. And let me just quickly grab a book and show you a few examples. This is a starter kit. And we teach you how to draw these kind of basic icons and scenarios that you might encounter in your workplace. We touch on lettering. Anything we do, if you can write and pick up a pen, and if you can draw an O or a 0, you can draw a U, a Z, and a M. You can draw, and plus perhaps a wavy line and a straight line. If you can draw just those, you're opening yourself up for everything we teach you in Bikablo. It's not about being good at drawing, it's the engagement of drawing. So let me show you this. If I wanted to draw a balloon, I've drawn an O, a little triangle, and a wavy line. That's balloon. If I wanted to make that a light bulb, it's a 0, there's an M in the middle, there's a U, and there's a Z.
Yes.
All you have to do
Of course.
is, so the colour. And then a person, I find this really interesting. A person is simply an O. This is an upside down U. Now, wherever you live in the world, whatever you look like, everybody recognizes themselves as a person like that. And that's, if you want to represent people, that's all you have to do. If there's a group of people, that's that. You give them a team name. It's, and we teach you, it's very one day you'll run with it. I taught Jenny Martin and Ben Rouse recently. But what I would say about this method, at first, you might think, oh, it's all about the drawing. It's all about the drawing. Oh, look at us. We're being fancy. And look, but actually over time, and I love this. This is the most simple illustration anyone can do. Over time, it's less about the drawing. So it's not so much about that. You might be a bit self-conscious of that at first, but actually over time, it's less about the drawing and it's more about the engagement and what's going on in people's minds. You can come up with rough ideas that you don't even have words for yet. You just might say, well, our legacy system, I'm going to draw a very complicated legacy system and migration to AWS, Amazon Web Services Cloud. Now, what that looks like, brace yourself for this complicatedness. I just want to define my canvas area. So I think I'm about there. Right, okay. So this is your 20-year-old legacy system into AWS Web Services. That's your legacy system. Okay.
Yeah.
There.
And that's it.
And that might be actually, it could be something like, you know, you're here and you want to get there. What does it take to cross these waters that have got risks, like a little dorsal fin? What does it take to get from one side to the other?
So could you tell me so that we have an idea, for what do you use it? Because you told me you have different 3 types of use of this, of these techniques for yourself.
Yeah. Well, why don't I think there's 3 principal use cases. And they are for, if I'm reading a book and I want to remember the key points, I will create like a little record card that's got the 3 key points to it. And I have a box and I flick all through them with all my stored knowledge and reminders of what I learned. That another one is presenting. And I want to give you some examples of that. And another one, as we've just been talking about, exploring together and co-creating. So get rid of that person who spends a month on a PowerPoint deck and tells you what to do. Get rid of that person. Find a collaboration expert professional. Bring the brains of the outfit together, and that's everybody, and co-create. Collaboration experts know how to manage a room of 100 people or 6 people and really get the best out of everyone. And so you can explore by co-creating, by taking a pen and going up to the whiteboard or the flip chart, and just like I did with the legacy system, just do a scribble. Just do anything. And even if you can't draw, write one word that summarizes it and put a box around it. That'll do. And some arrows going around. You don't need much. So I'm going to draw out just a little visual representation of what I've just said there. So the first one, how much space have I got? So the first one would be documenting. So I'm just going to put doc. No, it's documenting. So that could be I am in a room, or somebody's in a room and they've got a pen and they're at a whiteboard, and so that could be me, and I'm taking notes. I'm making little shapes and things, because there might be a group of people around a table talking about really important things, and they're having a very valuable conversation, might be asking questions and making great points. So I will take that and I will document that in my own summary way. And then the other one is to present. So I always put prezzo. That's my shorthand for that. And that, very simply, look, I'm just drawing an upside down U and an O. I've got my hand going there and I'm pointing out a great idea from somebody. And that is in a presentation mode. So if I just, a simple bit of color is kind of like information architecture for me. Like colleagues are in orange because I used to work at Sainsbury's, and perhaps clients are in blue. There might be corporate clients in blue tops. That's my little information architecture, and a bright idea will have a bright color shining. So that's 2. Documentation and presentation. And then the third one would be something like, where am I? A group of you, and you would be sharing ideas. So we've got a scribe there, and perhaps we've got a scribe here who's writing things down. And it could be possibly about the future that you're planning together. And you would be capturing that together. So that would be the third, and you'll be exploring or co-creating. My handwriting's terrible there. And don't worry, I'm dyslexic and I make spelling errors. Marcus Duval, the amazing Marcus Deval. So his link is in the show notes for his LinkedIn page. He does amazing content every day. If you're interested in this stuff, he taught me years ago, and then I practiced with him for about a year in lockdown. There's a merry group of us. We practiced together. And when I spelt something, I've generally got nice handwriting. God gave me nice handwriting on the one hand, and on the other hand, he took away the ability to spell.
And this is good.
So I'm not a tattooist. I would love to be a sign writer, but, there's ways around it.
So if you are a Bikablo trainer, right? Do you deliver the Bikablo trainer in person, or do you do this also online?
I do it online, and let's give Saeed a shout out, shall we?
Yes.
Because he changed the game for me. He upped my production value. So I don't work in portrait, I work in landscape. So that's why I've kind of struggled to fit my drawings in. But I do work online and in person. I'm happy to travel here and there around the UK, and I work online, and I love working online because I've got a multi-camera set up. Saeed set me up.
Saeed Sadouk, yeah, for those who don't know Saeed, we are talking about Saeed Sadouk, the expert to help people like us who are not technical to set up cameras and change cameras and do great things to be able to bring our expertise also in a engaging format online. So thank you, Saeed.
The facilitator. Yeah, so he's helped me have a very professional setup online.
Okay.
Or in person.
And when listeners would like to reach out to you to have some Bikablo training or to get some more information, how can they contact you the best?
So I always like to keep everything to LinkedIn. I have my own website, samcarpenter.co, but LinkedIn. Also, I mentioned Marcus Deval. So when I deliver the Bikablo training, I do that through Work Visible. That's Marcus Deval's agency. So Work Visible, a really great place to stop off and speak to Marcus Deval or myself. That's where you start. I also work independently of Work Visible, and I'm a freelancer for sketchnoting and graphic recording. I'm also a coach, either executive coaching or in the agile space. What else do I do? I do other stuff.
You do a lot of stuff, and you took the time to come to the podcast. So thank you very, very much, Sam. It was a pleasure to have you here.
So thank you for inviting me onto the show. I feel I'm in very good company from all your past other guests. I feel privileged to be nestled amongst them.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't hesitate to contact our guest. You'll find all the information in the show notes. And hey, if you like the content of There's a Workshop for That, please give it a 5 stars on your podcast app. And you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, La Workshopeuse. Also, I'd love to read your comments, suggestions of guests, or any question you have. For this, use the form called Hey Nathy in the show notes. And until our next episode, I wish you good health, success, and lots of happiness. Au revoir!